Well, I have done these projects where I was working with text that wasn't mine. I mean, like Chloe was an adaptation of a French film, and it had a very different sort of approach. Obviously, Devil's Knot was not my script as well. But this one was very different because it was really a completely original story. Ben August, proposes this character that we've never seen in any novel or any film I've ever experienced. It's really, not only is it an original character, but it would require a radical type of performance. It's a radical performance from Christopher Plummer because there's no subtext. Because of his dementia, he doesn't have any connection at a conscious level with his own immediate past, and yet the history that he's carrying is extraordinary. So for that performance to hold our attention, and the proposal that Ben August is making with this script is really quite unique. But let's go back to what I was saying before. Isn't it interesting? I mean, I have found it very interesting, given the response to the film, that a lot of the critical reaction is not actually looking at what an extraordinary script it is. It's we're talking about the performance and the direction, but really it starts with this amazing script that Ben August has written. And somehow, again, because it's a feature, again, the writer's role is somehow being diminished. And I find that interesting, because it is, as you said, it's an amazing story. And, I wasn't planning to make another film so soon, but I mean, you can't read this story and not get excited about the possibility.
It's a film that I particularly enjoyed because Christopher Plummer is just amazing in it. I mean, he holds the whole film like in this area, right? Like it's a beautiful performance. What was the experience with him? I mean, you love that guy.
I love him. I mean, I've worked with him before in Ararat many years ago. And he knows that I am this complete fan. I mean, I saw him on stage in Broadway doing a Harold Pinter play, No Man's Land, and I was the guy who went to meet him afterwards, shaking, asking him to sign the program. So he knows that, and I've seen all his performances on stage. He's still playing like Lear. He's still doing Prospero in The Tempest. He's still doing these. He's just written and directed this one-man show. So he's still very vital. And I've also read this incredible book he's written about his life. So it was a great joy to be able to work with him again. And also, there's this amazing subtext to the performance, because when you start watching the film, you go, well, he doesn't look Jewish. And then you forget about that because the performance is so great, but then you realize that then in the film it is a performed identity, that he's not Jewish, and that actually Plummer has always played these Germanic or these Nazi roles like all through his career, and here again
he tricked us, right?
Like, he's tricked us but we've allowed ourselves to be tricked as well. I mean, there's so many clues in the film that there's something like, why can he shoot so well? How can he take 3 shots and each one is exactly right? He hits the dog, he hits the heart, he hits the head. So how did he know how to do that? And there's these different associations, but we are so convinced of this performance and this character that he has assumed that it becomes really seductive. And we are concerned for him as this frail old Jewish man looking for retribution. And that's why I think the ending is so disturbing. And we have to then imagine, how is this possible? Because it's not the dementia. This is not the result of dementia.
No, it's a blocking.
It's a selective memory, which has become like a kind of a repressed and finally a suppressed memory. And this can happen, over decades. The more time that is passed, the more time that you're allowing yourself to actually block something out, the more possible it is that at a certain point you will not have experienced it. This is what we know this from people who have experienced abuse, or in childhood, or that there's this idea that you can actually completely suppress your experience of something if it's that traumatic to you. or if the idea being discovered, or if the idea, I mean, the film has so many suggestions in terms of what it's saying about our national or cultural shame, or, you know, whether or not it's specific to him personally, or, you know, did he have contact with Jewish life in Germany? I mean, was his teacher Jewish? You know, the composers that he mentions are all Jewish composers. How did his wife believe that he was Jewish? And then you have to look at, you know, the nature of Jewish communities in Berlin. They were very assimilated at that time. They thought they were German, and so, you know, there are all sorts of stories. And we talked about this a lot while we were preparing for the film. And Christopher Plummer and I had this whole map of who Zev was. But what's amazing is when you watch the film, it doesn't matter, because there is no subtext at all. He's a mystery, and he in fact is a puppet. He's being controlled by Martin Landau.
Yes.
So and Martin Landau becomes really interesting, because all this anger that you see in him, which you think is directed at the person that Zev is trying to find, is actually directed at Zev. But he's controlling this, so he becomes really interesting as well.
Yeah, he's a mastermind, really. I mean, what really shocked me when I first watched it was that at the end you feel like an accomplice, you know?
Thank you. This is so strange about the film, and this is what's so powerful. You are implicated as a viewer.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so strong, I think. Yeah.